I just love what you guys are saying. I brought a book along for people here today. You've got two choices today. You can either listen to what's going to be said to you, or I'm going to sell this book. This is a very professional book. It will cost you £39.99, 101 things to do during a dull sermon. So, I know it doesn't... Mary, you need one because I know this doesn't relate to me. Who's following me speaking? Oh, yes, that's right. Yeah. Sometimes you have to set out your stall right at the very beginning. So, I'm going to hit start here, 35 minutes. I want to say something. You know, I'm so blessed and honored to be with these guys here. Truly, you know, the Bible says that his word's a lamp unto my feet. And I find through the lens that you have, you become a light and a lamp unto my feet. And I just want to say thank you for taking the time and energy and allowing me to be part and parcel of what you're doing. So I just feel so blessed. So I'm putting it out there in case Brian has to go at me later. But we're here today. We're talking about building wealth in troubled times. And if I could just put a bit of a sidekick in that, I want to call it building wealth in troubled times, batteries included. Because, yeah, sometimes we don't realize. Could I just flick up what I have on the screen here? See, I kind of figure this is the way we do life. It's fitness 24 hours a day, and we take the escalator to go. And it's funny because... You see, there are some skinny people doing gyms, and really what they're doing... It's weird because the guy at the bottom's going up there. He's saying, I'm going to get my life right. He gets on the escalator. He goes into the gym. He gets on a treadmill and he spends about 2 hours running nowhere. I mean, you've got to think about it. It's just kind of mad. But in business, so often that's what we do. We go on a treadmill, you know, we take the easy route and we think, you know what? I'm going to spend the next 20 years running nowhere, doing nothing, and nothing ever changes. So hopefully today we can just give some pointers. So I had a look at God Google. Because that's where you really have to go, isn't it? Have you seen God Google? How do I do this? Let's have a look at Google. Yeah. And you type it in. I sort of typed it in because I want to invest, want to make money, you know, just like you. And I realized, well, I kind of got disappointed because I realized when I said, well, I want an investment that can't lose. There was only 19 million sites to look at. And I thought, well, that's not very many. So I thought, well, okay, what about if I type in God Google investments that work? And I realized that I hit it down because there's 240 million people that want to take my money and your money to make your life work. And so often that's what it's like when you're trying to land something that's going to be creative and to build wealth in a time of trouble. So let me just say this. If you're going to build wealth, don't build for the flip. Build something to last. Flipping something is not the way. We got to develop a mindset, and it's crucial when we're talking about wealth. It's really, really crucial. Don't be nursing a poverty mindset. And I know you all know about that. But so often, and what these guys are saying, what I'm hearing, is so often that when we invest, when we start to deal with finances, we've got a poverty mindset. But what the guys have been saying to us, which I totally agree with, we have a poverty mindset spiritually also. And I think that really lies at the crux of our problem. I'll tell you something worse when you get out of a poverty mindset and you start to move on. You start to realize, well, I've got this middle-class business mindset. And that becomes worse than poverty. Because we embrace positive choice, get a good education, discipline yourself. And the truth is we lack confidence in what God's doing. And if I'm talking to you and you're doing business, it's the confidence in God that's going to get you through. It's the only thing that you and I have to make our way forward. And we seem to have missed so often that God provided and deposited to us enough to change our whole world, which is more than our businesses. So I want you to think like that. I've got to confess, I'm just catching hold of this. I'm realizing that God set us as a church and set you as business people to change the world. Duh. But I can hear it, but one day, recently, it started to drop into my heart. I've never seen it before. I want to thank these guys for doing it. You're changing my life. I'm catching hold of. There's a word that's a lamp. I realize I'm a bit bigger than a business, a bit bigger than the church. And so are you. And until we get our mind shift, nothing's going to change. Because, hey, wealth is freedom. Say that, wealth's freedom. Wealth is freedom because that puts you in the place, and having a wealth mindset, you experience freedom from anything that would restrain you. From experience everything that God has. Thanks, Johnny. We hear this call to wealth. Revelations 1:6. What does it say? We know it very well. And he made us a kingdom of priests to his God and Father. To him be glory and dominion forever and ever. I want to say it this way. God has a plan for me from his perspective, and a plan for you to move you from meager to mighty. That's that scripture. Meager to mighty. And I want you to understand and catch hold of this meager to mighty idea. Because too often in business or when we're thinking of planning, we're always looking at lucky shot. Oh, I just moved into the right position and I really got a blessing. And we're winning the kingdom, but somewhere we're hanging out for the lottery. But money has horror stories. When you get money, it becomes difficult. We've seen it with people win lottery and they get counseling to how to handle the finances. But I want to say meager to mighty can be dangerous. So before you become a millionaire, before you get all your money, I want to remind you of some things. Proverbs 28:16 says this, a ruler who lacks understanding is a cruel oppressor. If I lack understanding about the money that I have in my pocket, about the money you have in your pocket, you and I become abusers and violent. That's a powerful thought, because when we're searching for finances, God says, hey, make sure you've got understanding about the pound in your pocket. Or you'll become abusive. I know you love this. I can hear you going, hey man, that's right, that's me. Not. But it's true. You'll become, or I'll become, an abusive employer. If I don't understand this thing called money, I'll have a survival mindset. I'll be caught up in the wrong part of God's call to me. God rescued me from darkness and translated me and you into this kingdom of light. He's taken you or me from poverty to a palace. And now, whether you like it or not, whether you're going to switch on to this or not, God said, I am taking you and I am moving you and training you to think like a mighty person, not a meager person. Doesn't the Bible say he became poor, but through his poverty we become rich? Can I tell you about, we all know the story of Abraham. Or Abram, as he was once called. Rocky's often taught on it. I'm sure Brian has, and the rest of the guys have as well. And I kind of looked a bit into his ancestry, and maybe you have, but his granddaddy was a guy called Nahor. And it's interesting when you think about Nahor, and we realize there's a spiritual connection to names and to nature of that person. So Nahor actually talks about a snorting one, an angry one, and an aggressive one. That was his granddaddy. Let me move down to his father, Terah, who was an interesting guy because he wasn't like his daddy, Nahor, snorting and angry. He was more laid back, relaxed, actually lazy. He was a loiterer. He hung about. He didn't do anything. And then we come to this guy called Abram. And you got his granddaddy, his daddy, and now it's Abram. And I know you know that his name means, well, you know, he's a high father. When you do a bit more looking into it, it's not just a high father. Abram means he's a lofty thinker. He thinks different. And from God's perspective, God's saying, well, you've got your granddaddy, Nahor, and then you've got your father, Terah, but I want you to think different. And it's a moving in our concept about this whole thing about money that God wants you and I to catch hold of. We've got to understand the money in our pockets. If we're going to really run with God, move from meager to mighty. Because I think so often we get caught up on the wrong side of what God's calling us to do. Let me just throw this out to you about Abraham's relationship. Genesis 12, 1-3, we all know it very well. Now the Lord said to Abram, go from your country and your kindred and your father's house to the land that I will show you. And I will make you a great nation. And I will bless you and make your name great so that you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and him who dishonors you I will curse. And in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed. Point number one, if I have a point for you, just to get back and just rattle your head a bit. So we've got a good game plan. So we're understanding how God's looking at Abraham and how God's looking at your business or your workplace or your ministry. Just get it in perspective a bit. God looks and he says, I want you to be like Abraham or Abram, our father of faith, Romans 4, you know it. And think like this, become convinced that God's called you to the business or the placement that you're at. Because it's just a simple point, but it's so important for you to understand, hey, I've got a greater level of responsibility than the average person. God called me. God spoke over me. He is calling me. He's got a particular plan for me. Now, let me tell you about Abram. Good and bad came his way. He had strife with men. He had strife with the wife. Remember, he left his wife in Egypt? He's no dozer. Just saying.
I would retract that.
Not talking about my wife. I'm talking about Abram. Get it on here. Come on. Now, that's a good or bad thing, depending who you are when you leave your wife. But it'd be a bad thing if I left my wife. She looks after me. But I want to say he had bad land when it came to choice between, watch it, Brian. He had bad. He had a bad choice of land opportunities. When Lot says, I'm taking the good land, you know, Abram, you can take the bad. But things didn't go his way. He had battles. He had wars to fight. There's lots of things came bad his way. Now, remember, the guy's called. The guy already knows, God, you've said something about me, and I'm ready to hook up with what you're saying. So he knows he's called, but there's lots of stuff coming his way. And do you know what? It's your life experience. Business person, it's your life experience. And this is what I want to say to you. You have a thing called the law of a harvest that's undeserved. You get undeserved harvest. And so do I in my life. I mean, here's the truth. You reap what you didn't sow. You reap what you didn't say, and so do I. And sometimes that sort of rocks your boat and it rocks my boat. I mean, come on, God called you. Oh, God, I didn't expect this. I know you didn't expect it, and neither did I, but that happens in life. But we need to get that fixed for the journey. That there are things that come that we mightn't have sowed. Paul said very clearly, I planted, Apollos watered, but God gave the increase, or God gave the growth. So you realize that, hey, the growth of your business, the growth of where you're at, is nothing to do with you, and it's nothing to do with me. It's got to be to do with his call. And sometimes we forget this. And we're looking and we're striving and we're caught up in our minds trying to work issues out. But much of what we reap, we never planted either. I mean, come on, guys, let's be really honest. I'm looking around the room, and you look as daft as a brush. You really do. Oh, sorry, I was looking in the mirror. But come on, there's not many of us noble, not many of noble birth, and not many, but we're just guys. We're going through life, and we're getting opportunities. And I'm saying, well, where does that come from? It must be the person that called you. So let's get it fixed in our head. There are things that we reap that we never planted. And there's sometimes people do things in your life and you reap the consequences. I mean, let's face it. The bigger the Bible, the bigger the hypocrite or the rogue. Every builder is a cowboy. I can feel him getting right at you. Every insurance man is a come on, man. Oh, come on. You inherit stuff. I'm not saying that you are, but we inherit stuff that's real negative. But I want to tell you there's a positive side to that. There's a real positive side. I know that I've reaped a building. I've reaped a building, 58,000 square feet of building that I didn't sow to. I didn't do anything for it. It appeared. I didn't do one thing. And you didn't do one thing for lots of stuff that you reap. So get our perspective right, what God's saying to us. And start to realize there's positive things to reap. There's a positive harvest that I didn't sow for. Whether it can be a negative thing in your life or a positive thing in your life. But please, listen, I'm in a crisis today because of bankers. I didn't plan on bankers done something, it's something to do with me, and I'm reaping some difficult stuff, but there's another side where I reap some positive stuff. There's a law of undeserved harvest, good and bad. Don't allow it to crush you and to rob you. When God's looking at you and saying, hey, do you know what? Do you know what? Don't get angry and confused because something negative came your way. Jesus said it this way. The kingdom of heaven is like a man who sowed good seed in his field. But while everyone was sleeping, his enemy came and sowed weeds among the wheat and went away. And when the wheat sprouted up, Jesus had a hissy fit, went mad, said, who done this? I'm going to kill them, hang them, and crucify them. No, he didn't. He went on and he said, hey, he said, don't take a freaker. It'll be all right. It's cool. We'll sort it out in the end. If you're looking for the scripture or you look at my Bible, it's in Matthew 13:24. But he just says, the weeds came from an enemy. Read the story. He doesn't do anything about it. He says, hey, there are things that you reap. And you know, when you're getting crucified in your mind about your business, God's going, what's the issue? What's the issue here? I give you the business. I give you a call. Just walk in it. It's going to work out. Don't worry about the enemy's doing. God's got a way through. Don't get disillusioned. Don't draw back. Keep sowing good seeds. Don't think an unfamiliar harvest in your life, if it appears even in your family. Even if a friend does something wrong in you, don't stop and think to yourself, I've been sowing good seeds and I'm getting bad back. That is absolutely impossible. You can't get a good seed and get something bad back. It can't happen. It can't. Oh, why am I? Well, look, yeah, I know. That's only because it's a law. Undeserved harvest. Hey, you know you're good guys. Do you know what I mean? Listen, God replies to you with a harvest according to your heart. There's a law of equal heart measure. Given, it shall be given unto you. Luke 6:38. Given, it shall be given unto you. It's going to be pressed down, running over into your lap. For the measure, the heart measure that you use, it's coming right back at you, saith the Lord. Now that isn't 10 pounds for 10 pounds. God says, let me see the 10th, the 12th, the 20%, the 50% of your heart. Because if you're getting 50% of your heart, you're getting 50% blessing of my heart right back at you. It's a law of equal harvest. So God's, now that's kind of cool. That's really cool when you think, God just wants to fire back. Listen, if you think of it this way, in your business, if you had 1% of God's heart flowing through it because you're acting in faith full on, God, I got 1% that I'm running with. God saying, I got 1% of the kingdom of heaven coming your way. And if you start multiplying that up, all of a sudden, you're moving in wealth and a mindset sort of changed. God's got a blessing. Your plan, your advertising, your smarts, the conferences, everything that we do could be important, but not as important as who the source is to your business. It can't be any different. Watch my time. Okay. Let me just give you some of the from those scriptures in Genesis when Abraham. God's command. Can I tell you something about commands? God commands you because it's not natural. God commands you because it's not natural to do it. If he doesn't say it, you won't do it. If he doesn't say it to me, I won't do it. So he commands. So he says to him, look what he says, leave your country, your territory, your boundaries, your limitations, and go to the place that I'll show you. Leave your comfort zone. Get to the place where you have nothing to fall back on because you're pursuing him rather than pursuing a business. Because that's where it's going to start to feed back to you. God's wealth plan for me and for you lies beyond performance and ability. Okay, I'll say it again. God's wealth plan lies beyond performance and ability. It's not about performance. It's not about ability. Lewis, where do you get that from? Deuteronomy 8:17, 18. Let me throw it at you quickly. Beware lest you say in your heart, Beware lest you say in your heart, my power and the might of my hand has got me this wealth. The word power there talks about my feelings, my thoughts, my ability to plan and strategize. Be careful you don't think it's your plan and strategy. And the power ability for you to be articulate in business will give you wealth. God says, that doesn't happen. Make sure you don't make that mistake. Make sure you understand where God's moving you from and moving you to. He goes on, you shall remember the Lord your God, for it is he who gives you the power, ideas, the thoughts to get wealth, that he may confirm his covenant. Because God says, I've got a plan, I'm looking down, and I've got the plan for the world, and I want to include you in it, and that's where your wealth comes from. It's got to be fashioned that way. Don't miss it. Don't miss it. Go to the place where I'll show you. Do you know what we live in the world? Scarcity. That's where we live with that idea. Can I tell you something about Eden? God never had scarcity in Eden. It wasn't there. It's a place of abundance. So I understand it's God's plan. Getting in life is not job number one for you or for me. God said, I made it an earth and I made it abundant. And he said, listen, you and I know, because we've read all the books and we've heard all the preaching that says there's enough resources in the world to feed everyone and to supply everyone food, water, etc., etc. You and I know that. But there's a world axiom or the fallen economics about scarcity. The more people are in the world, well, the less there is to go around. That's where we live. How do I work that out? Well, every day that I get up, I need more today because yesterday's gone. It's like manna. You got to get it in, and if you try to store it, it'll rot. And God's sort of saying, well, don't live with the lie of scarcity. Don't think that this world has been created without what you and I need. Don't go there. Because if you live there, you'll be living separate from God. Nobody told God that the world has got scarcity in it. Nobody sent him the email, so he's not thinking that, and he hasn't corrected his Bible. He still thinks and believes. And I'm going to hang out with him that he created a world with everything that you and I need in it. If you read when he's talking, he says the creative God, and what do you hear what he says? Look, he talks like this, Charlton Heston, I can't do it, but you get the idea of Moses, he's seen the TV. And he says, he's created Adam and Eve. And he goes, be blessed, fill the earth, subdue, do all wonderful things. It's abundant. Curtains close, and away they go. Not a word. Oh, and by the way, if you get too many people hanging about, you've got nothing. In 6,000 years it's going to collapse. He just gets it and he speaks it. Be fruitful, multiply, just fill this whole earth because I have created an abundance in it. Yet we live with scarcity in their minds. Oh, it's going to run out. Well, I mightn't make enough. Well, don't you look at my business plan because you might steal my business plan. I mean, come on, it's not his anyway, and I'm going to have a bit of his iPhone stuff later. But you know what I mean? It's not his plan. Just because God works that way with him. But it's the same with all of us when we live in this fear, especially businessmen, full of fear. And God's saying, there's no scarcity in this world. So move your head from it. When I'm feeling it, that's okay if there's something coming your way that you didn't sow. I'm asking you to get into the plan of God. And how God looks at Abraham. So get hold of it. Jesus said it this way. Tomorrow worries about itself. Matthew 6:29. Spin doctor that one. We've learned how to get wealth and spin doctor poverty into your lives. And God says, hey, spin doctor this. Tomorrow's got enough problems. Start thinking about faithful provision instead of scarcity in your life. And he's not interested, by the way, if you're praying, please, Jesus, take away the anxious feeling that I have about my tomorrow. He's not really going, well, I have to worry about that. He's not interested about what you feel. He says, hey, I want you to get your mind back on the source. I want to get you to a place where you're realizing about seasons and the rhythm of seasons in your life. I want you to get to a place. Question. Here's a question quickly. Question. Have you ever wondered about God talking about sharing? God says, I want you to share what you have. Do you know that? Pound in your pocket. I want you to. I wonder did he say it because he thought, I'm El Shaddai. I got more than enough. Did you ever consider God said, share what you have because I got plenty? See, we're thinking, well, I'm not sure I've got enough, but God's looking. And he said, but I'm saying it because I know about all the wealth and I know how this thing works. And I'm asking you to give because I've got everything. Let me ask you a question. Did you get up this morning and get a bill in the post? Did anybody get a bill in the post to deliver them a salary? I just want to ask anybody, quickly, put your hand up. Did you look? Did you? You got one. Who else got a bill? Just think. You got a whole lot. How much was it, David? Did you get a bill? Oh. How much was yours, Henry? 265. How much was yours? 675. I wonder who's going to start thinking, well, who's panicking about me then? Who's got money in their pocket today? Who brought some money to give away? I just introduced you to 3 people who got bills today. I did?
Yeah. Come on. Yeah.
I'll ask again. If you're struggling today, I'm being serious, look, I haven't got much time. If you're struggling today about finances and you're saying, I got a bill and I don't know how to meet this, stand. Go on. Go on, stand. Are you struggling? Honestly, are you struggling about that bill? That's good. And then you don't need any. Who's struggling about to meet the bill? Stand quickly. Come on, quickly. Who is it? Okay, that's good. You missed your opportunity. It's interesting. That we're sitting here and we're going, well, no, I've got a bill, but I don't know what to do with it. And God's saying, well, you're worried about bills, you're struggling in your financial mindset, and you're wondering, God, how am I going to make it through? I'm scared, I've got to hang on. There are people sitting here in your business world saying, I've got money, and I'm ready to give. And we sit there, well, I don't need the bill. Is that weird? Is there something wrong with us? Okay, I'll just move on. I'll just leave it hanging out there. What? See, sometimes El Shaddai, more than enough, God provides. It's hard to locate. 200 years ago, let me tell you, if you were living in a house and this white ooze come up out of the garden called petroleum, you would have said to yourself, oh no, my property's just lost a lot of money. Yeah. If you had petrol 200 years ago. It's interesting because God's already got provision coming your way and coming my way. You see, God knows when to release knowledge into people, and that's how we got to sharpen our ears. Sand had no value whatsoever until someone somewhere decided, I'm going to make a computer chip out of sand. And in fact, they went on and said, I'm going to make fiber optics out of sand, and sand got value. I mean, it's interesting that God has places and things for us to locate in this world that's not full of scarcity. I mean, think about it for a minute. Solar is the new kid on the block. We've been looking at the sun every day, lie in it, soak it up, get its rays. And somebody one day said, I'm going to harness that, not in this country, I'm going to harness that and make a lot of money. But they got there. Let me move on. God's command. It's not natural. Leave your family, leave your circumstance, the birth. No longer embrace the identity that you've been given by a halfwit, a dipstick, or a plonker. Okay? Deal with people that've got the mind of Christ. That's what you want to catch up and get hold of. You don't want to be a Nahor snorter, a Terah, a moon worshipper. You want to be an Abraham or Abram who's got a higher lofty thought about God wants to do. You see, we've all been inhibited by class view. We've received from our father's house through the lens that we called normal growing up. And this isn't about right or wrong and where you were brought up. I want you to see something so that you can respond to the Holy Spirit's summons. Come out! Come out from where you live. Come out from your father's house and leave your father's house and come to the king's palace once and for all. If you confront normality in your life, you will find and discover you need the supernatural encounter to transform your thinking and get rid of some residue that's all over you. Like for instance, food. Think about food. We love food. Poverty, when we think about food, goes this way. Ready here. Food for the impoverished person, they think in quantity, how much will that cost? How much will it cost me? In the middle class, they will think, well, I've got a bit more choice. So they look at food in terms of quality. I want the highest quality for my budget. Some of us are there. A wealth mindset goes like this. They see food in terms of presentation, elegance, and style. Wealthy people do not go and get things cooked. They go to the chef. They go to the food sculpture, and they start eating that way. Let me move it into a believer's lifestyle. If you live with a poverty mindset, you're powerless, fate sealed, no hope, can't move forward, need a lottery break, and you're living for the spiritual lottery, the rapture, take me out of here, it's all over, I made it. Middle class believers go here, power of choice, engaging to change circumstances by good moral choices and self-discipline. They're the people that go through life, and this is kind of nice, that they want Christians elected into public office so they can change the world. It's lovely. But wealth believes something else. I have the power to ask for anything, and I will receive it. I live in a limitless existence. There's no want. I have abundant mindset, and I'm going to act with honor with everyone that I see, and kindness and generosity. Their chief concern, a wealth mindset, is say, how can I help someone less fortunate than myself? And this is a God perspective. A God perspective. Please hang in with me here. Wealth creates a culture of honor. Those with unlimited resources focus on investing on things that matter, like people, like legacies, like beauty. They seek out worthy causes. Now, I'm saying it this way because you got to work out where are you in your life, what's been put on you through your class view. Have you moved to your father's house? And I'm not talking about having $1 million in the bank. I'm talking about a mindset and a heart. Because it's him that provides. Are you hanging in with me? Are you with me? I know I'm moving fast. I love people who've got this unlimited resource mindset. They seek out that worthy cause. Gwen and the guys, when they're setting up Beauty by Design for the women, it kind of gets me going every year because she goes out, and she says, I want to find a worthy cause. We'll take an offer and just give it away. I just love that. It's the thing that excites me. I'm trying to get there with my life, but she's already doing it. She wakes up in the middle of the night. Lewis, what? Well, not really. She doesn't wake up in the middle of the night. Probably when I'm trying to go to sleep and it feels like the middle of the night. But you're saying, I want to do something. I want to go somewhere where somebody's got nothing and get something to them. This is a worthy cause. I want to find somebody that's struggling and put something in their hands. It's a worthy cause. Can you imagine believers who are caught like that? Where honor is a practice of just giving. That they think, I've got to build. There's a worthy cause. I want to release. That's the story of the cross. Jesus came and died poverty that we become rich. He said, I want to give you something. I want to put something in your hand because God has a plan. I mean, it turns everything on its head when we talk about business. When you're told, leave your country, your limitation, leave your family, get all that stuff that you inherited and that class stuff out of your mind. It changes. Imagine the church or believers or businesses thinking, I want to train everybody to live a life totally that walks in a limitless kingdom. What would it be like? Imagine the generation whose dream and desire in the heart is say, I am going to make a difference with what I do with my life because I'm in the center of his plan. I've heard his call. I've been convinced of the call. I'm leaving the country of limits. I'm leaving my father's house and his identity. I'm moving into a palace. Can I get the batteries included and I'm still under time? I'm so proud of myself. Oh, maybe I'm not. Move quick. Okay. Everybody here's experienced a Christmas. And there's nothing worse than getting a present with no batteries. Good mummies and dads. I learned this. Gwen learned it. She beat me and sent me because I was stupid. Go get the batteries. There's nothing. A good parent produces toys with batteries. Come on, think about God. Abraham, come out of there. Leave that numpty over there. That's a great word, numpty. I learned one last night. You told no, I better not go there. Something to do with your mouth, declaring something. But leave your granddaddy. Leave your father's house. I've got batteries for you to do something different. I've got something that I'm providing for you. Fast forward. We start in Genesis 12, Genesis 22. Abraham's tested. He's got his son. God says, come sacrifice your son. It's said in the Bible he's going to test him. He's testing him. It's his firstborn. It's the promise. And God wanted to see what was in Abraham's heart. He wanted to know whether he would work out. God's got the batteries. God's going to cause this thing a Duracell. It's going to go on and on and on. You got the story. You got the picture. Isaac is there. He sees all the ingredients for the sacrifice. They're heading up the mountain. And he looks. And this is what it said. And Isaac said to his father Abraham, my father. And he said, here I am, my son. Really loving. He said, behold the fire, the wood, and where is the lamb for the burnt offering? And Abraham said this, God will provide for himself the lamb for a burnt offering, my son. Just before he went to sacrifice, you know the story, the angel appears and says, stop. And as Abraham lifted his head, he seen the ram in the thicket. It's a lovely story, and it's a great finish to it. I just want you to hang out this, and I'm going to finish here. Abraham didn't say, God will provide for us. God will provide for me. God will provide for my future. He said, God said he will provide for himself. God says, I'm providing for myself, my covenant, my promise to Abraham, my promise of wealth, my promise of blessing. He says, I'm providing for myself this future. I'm providing for myself businessmen, church leaders, ministry people, for myself. And unless we get our mind moving over to that wealth mindset, you see, sometimes we say, give me the money, and that's okay, that's cool. But God says, hey, I want you to say, give me the money with the plan. Because God has a plan. He said, it's my plan, it's my purpose, and it's my sacrifice for myself. And sometimes we get it upside down, wrong way round. If you're going to build for wealth in times of trouble, leave your country. Leave your limitations and come into God's plan. Leave your father's house and how you see the world and some of the people around you who want to show you the world. And God says, I will include the batteries that will empower you the rest of your days because you're center to what I'm saying. Are you hearing what I'm saying? God says, I will provide for myself. And if you're struggling today, and you're thinking, God, why am I struggling? It's time to move your mind. Say, well, God, you called me. I'm convinced of that. I now just need to alter my mind to say, you've got a plan, and I'm in that plan, and that's a plan for yourself to minister your gospel through this world. And that starts to direct your life and give you hope. Get a lofty thought. Move out of where you're at. Become convinced God's called you. Leave your country. Leave your family. Because God's provided a plan for you. I want to read one story and I'm done. 1987. This happened in this country. We Ireland. We Northern Ireland, in case you're all funny. 1987. This is a true story. A small family business went to their accountant and they said this. We want to know how to sow more money into God's kingdom and into his plan. But we don't have much. And the accountant came back and he said, okay, I'm going to show you what to do. I want you to take your penny shares. That's all they had. They weren't going anywhere. They said, we want to take those shares, those penny shares, and we want you to invest it. And they set up a trust. Today, 26 years later, that trust fund sits at £68 million. They had nothing. They took a little seed and they got in the middle of God's plan. Said, you know what? We're going to give this and set it up. And God just took it. Says, this is my plan. This is my purpose. You've come out from your country. You've left your family. You've left all the ideas. You haven't said, well, God, you know what? God, I'm going to bless you because you bless me. They just give themselves to God's plan. And God says, well, here's 68 million coming your way to bless the kingdom. And that's what they continually do. I want to tell you guys, I'm being serious, business people or wherever you are, when God's call came, he included the batteries to cause the whole thing to work for you. Stop beating the life out of yourself and thinking that it's not working or you can't get any further forward. God's got it for you. Batteries included. Water break. Let's go.
Heaven and earth adore you. Kings and kingdoms bow down.